during this.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ruffian Tittman, Executive Director of Friends of the Wissahickon, and we have a real treat for you today. We're here with Amy Ricci, Executive Director of Historic Rittenhouse Town, which is a fabulous history site here in the Wissahickon Valley Park. I know many of you are familiar with the site. Some of you may not have had the chance to get to know Amy, who's been the Executive Director for just about 2 years now, and we've all had a little pause in our in-person getting to know each other. So Amy, great to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're thrilled to hear about you and also hear about what's going on at Historic Rittenhouse Town.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Sure thing. So why don't you give us a little bit of your background before we get started? I know that you are someone who loves history and old buildings, so I think you're in the perfect place.
I am. So I actually grew up in Jersey, in central Jersey, in an old town in New Jersey, and kind of just took for granted that everywhere in the country looked like that. So I've always had this, deep embedded love and appreciation for history. And then I lived in Boston for a number of years, and I got my my master's degree in historic preservation at Boston University. And then I relocated back to the Philly area just because there's this repository of amazing historic structures here. And actually, my first volunteer job, I'm moving back. I wanted to get involved, and so I volunteered. And my first volunteer job was here at Historic Rittenhouse Town, 12 years ago now.
Wow.
So yeah, this place has always been really special to me for a number of reasons. But one, because it was really my first introduction back into the historic world of Philadelphia.
I think I'm so glad you said that, because I feel like there might be a lot of people out there listening who remember maybe a school trip or coming with family to visit what we know is the site of America's first paper mill.
Yeah, so the Rittenhouse family started the first paper mill in 1690. They made paper out of linen that was woven from flax. And although our mill is long gone, we still make paper by hand here in the spirit of the Rittenhouse family. They were, in some ways, they were collecting old rags that had been, clothing first, and then rags, and then paper last. And so we make paper today out of just about everything. When I do the student workshops a lot, we use just old recycled office paper. So it's a little funny. We're making paper out of paper, but we're giving new life to paper, just like new life.
Reuse, right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the first thing we're supposed to do.
Yeah, but we still host school groups today. So if anyone listening out there has a school group, we do private workshops. We do, and you'll see this in some of my slides later. We still do, workshops, paper making workshops for adults as well as our children's programming.
So if someone comes to Historic Rittenhouse Town, and maybe I know you have some great slides for us to talk about too, what's the first thing you'd like them to know about the site and what you're hoping that they take away with them?
Well, one of the things that I've been really working on since I've been here is, hopefully the first thing that people don't notice when they get here is our lack of interpretive signage. So I'm happy to report that we have signage. It's sitting in my office now, which will be installed soon, which will shed a little light on what the significance of what some of these buildings are. But what I really think one of the biggest takeaways to this site is that people love to walk through it now is like this wooded parkland, but it really looked nothing like this kind of in the heyday, which was about 1690 to 1890. The site looked very different. This map is actually the first time it's being broadcast live.
This is really?
Yeah, this is our brand new map. I just got it yesterday.
Wow, breaking news, people. Yeah. You heard it here first at FOW. We're bringing you all the good news.
Right. So one of the things that we're really trying to do with this map is all of the ghosted structures. We're really trying to impress on people how different the site looks.
Wow. That's an intense build out. If we're
and that's not even all of them. There were up to 40 structures here on site. I was actually just reading something. We say 40 structures, and some of those include like dog houses, outhouses. But still, this site just looked nothing like it looked today. We have early photos where you can see, looking from Lincoln Drive up the village, you can see straight clear to Bluebell Hill neighborhood. So the land was pasture land, it was farmed, and just way more populated with structures than what you see today when you come through. So that's, I think, one of the biggest things that I like to impress on people who have never been here today is that it didn't always look like this.
Wow. I'm particularly interested in this building that looks like it's over the creek.
That was a mill. That
Wow.
was a hosiery mill, I believe, that was run by it was the Amadeo. I'm not going to get it right. But it was a mill. And the Italianate house that you see up behind the barn, those were the owners of that mill that was there. But yeah, we think it was probably, I mean, the whole Wissahickon, as you know, was all milling areas. And so we think there were, up to 3 mills just on site here. When the Rittenhouse family first came, they started with a 20-acre plot, and eventually it grew to a 200-acre plot. And then we're back down to 20 acres now.
Okay.
But there was just so much industry in the whole Wissahickon that you don't necessarily get the feel of today when you're in the area.
No, you really don't. It was so different. And we're so, I think, lucky today that the area was reclaimed and protected. So, yeah. And it's also really valuable to have these last pieces of that kind of early industrial era or pre-industrial.
Yeah, I mean, I wish they left a mill, but it's okay. Yeah. We can still celebrate the spirit of milling.
Sure. All right, so let's dive a little deeper. What's going on at Historic Rittenhouse Town today?
Well, so and I'm sure you feel the same way. I've noticed that, since COVID and since, everything else has closed, people are coming into the Wissahickon more than ever. And so we're really just trying to have our doors open, have events going on, have a place where people can do outdoor activities and feel safe. And just really explore the area and our buildings and this whole amazing region. So if you want to just pop to the next slide, we actually have a tour this Saturday. It's a hike with Brad Mall, who has done all the research in the world on the toleration statute.
There's no research left to do.
No, I think he's uncovered everything that there is to know. So it's a 3-mile hike that we'll traverse with Brad, and he will tell you all about the toleration statute when we get up there. Because there was always question about whether it's William Penn or so he can answer all.
You can get all the details, all your burning questions about the toleration statute.
Right, for those.
Is there still room in the hike?
There is. Yeah, for those of you that have burning questions about the toleration statute, this is your chance.
People do.
Well, and there's nothing like starting your morning off with a morning hike through peak foliage season. So
definitely,
that's one thing we have this Saturday.
Excellent.
Go to the next slide. I guess some of you have probably realized or have probably gone to get coffee at one of our newest additions on site, which is the Paper Trail Bike Cafe. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have coffee on site.
Keeps running.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice site amenity. And it's great for all the people that come to site as well. So Paul opened up his shop. It was probably March of COVID.
It was. I remember that. Yeah. Wow, he's opening up a coffee shop.
Yeah, and we were thrilled to have him. And that's part of what we're trying to do here is reinvigorate our spaces. For so often, people refer to Rittenhouse Town, or when I talk to people about where I work, they're always like, "Oh, you mean that cluster of abandoned buildings?" Like, no, they're not abandoned. Right. So this was one of our efforts to really give life to our buildings that were being underutilized. So Paul's been on site for about 2 years now. He's open Thursday through Sunday for coffee, and he's open pretty much 5 days a week just for bike repair. But he actually has a micro film festival that's coming up on Thursday. And proceeds from that will benefit both Historic Rittenhouse Town and the AIM Bicycle Shop. So we're excited about that as well.
Wonderful.
Next slide.
And one question on that, Amy.
Sure.
Do people need to register to come to that?
Yeah, they can do it on the Paper Trail Bike Cafe website. And I think they're limiting it to 75, but last I heard there were still some spots available as that as well. And he's got great catering set up for that too. Yeah, so that should be a tasty event. And then we started in May of this year hosting our first fermented farmers markets, which have been really fun. There's not anything really like them out. They do one at Cherry Street Pier, but this is the first year that we really started looking at fermented farmers markets. Lots of people have farmers markets, which by all means are great, but this one's adds a little bit of a twist to the typical.
Okay.
And of course, they always have beer. So that's
all right.
great.
So they have beer. What else do they have?
They have pickles. They have drinks. I'm still waiting on a kimchi vendor. So if anyone out there is a kimchi vendor, send them our way for the fermented farming.
Excellent. All things fermented you would like.
All things fermented. There's a vendor there that has a pre-made like dirty martini mix that's fermented. Like it's just like great stuff. Yeah. So really kind of unique. Every second Saturday, I'm usually there and I buy something from every single vendor just because there's so I don't know.
Between the coffee and this farmer's market.
Yeah.
Like working in the mall.
It's actually our last market of the season. Is coming up on November 13th. And on that same day, we also have a paper casting workshop up at our paper making studios are also hosted in the barn. So it's a paper making or a paper casting workshop, which I've never done. So I'm excited to learn.
Yeah, it looks fabulous. I think I can guess what you're doing there, but can you explain a little bit about paper casting?
Not really, because I haven't. But my understanding of it is probably the same that everyone's getting from this picture.
Yeah.
Is that you take the pulp that you make for paper making, instead of sifting it over a mold and decal to make a thin sheet of paper, you're taking it and you're putting it into a pre-existing mold that has a shape or an ornament on it. So I'm really excited to learn that.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
And then just going through our coming up events. So the next slide is our Rittenhouse event. Ooh. And so this is the second time that we've had this event. We had it, I forget whether we had to postpone last year. But I think it was last year that we did.
I think you did do one last year. Yeah, you did.
Right. Even through the pandemic, we got delayed a little bit because actually the night we were supposed to have it, the city put a curfew in place. But this year we're actually expanding it. So last year we were at the Homestead in the bakehouse.
Okay.
And I will say that our bakehouse is one of the most amazing features we have on site. For those of you that are familiar with the site and the Homestead, it's the small structure next to the Homestead. And it has a 16.5-foot hearth, which is the biggest hearth in Pennsylvania. And we still cook on it. So we do pizza nights and all sorts of stuff. Wow. But whenever we have events, we usually have a hearth cook there who's preparing something. So this year, Rittenhouse is on a full moon, Friday, November 19th. And we're going to be all over the site. So we'll be up at the barn. There'll be speakeasy set up both at the Homestead and the barn. We'll have tarot card readings, ghost stories, flashlight tours. So just a lot of spooky fun.
Awesome. And what is, again, I would assume people need to register. They should go to your website. And,
also tickets for all of these events are on our website.
Okay, excellent. I love that name, Rittenhouse.
Yeah. So we're excited to kind of make this one of our regular programmings that we do throughout the year.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Sounds fabulous.
And then a couple things that we're working on moving forward, so we can just pop to the next slide. For anyone who's been on site recently and is kind of familiar with our buildings, 210 Lincoln Drive is the building that's, if you're coming through site off Wissahickon, it's the building at the very end of the lane. And this building has always been a little bit of a mystery to us. We don't know a whole lot about this building. This building is still owned by the city. We have long-term leases on the structures that we do programming out of, but 210 is one of the structures that we do not have a long-term lease on. And so we're actively working with the city to kind of get stuff going at 210. But one of the first things that we need to do is learn everything that we can learn about it so that we're doing appropriate changes and operations and upgrades and all that kind of stuff. So we're working now with getting a historic structures report done on 210, which is basically like, for people in the preservation field, it's kind of like your foundation. Once you know everything that you can know about the building, take an in-depth look at the architecture, the building construction, any archival information that exists on that. It really directs where programming and where you can kind of go with the building. So you know what's appropriate to make alterations and what's not. And I guess I should rewind a little bit here. We are a National Historic Landmark. So all of our buildings are certified. Landmark districts or landmark structures are the highest level of distinction that you can get from the National Park Service. So we have to be really careful when we're dealing with our buildings because they're of a certain age that's very significant.
Right. So you want to make sure that when you're doing your restoration work, that it's appropriate to its actual history, and you're not just guessing. You think it's, how about this?
Well, in our homestead, for example, we've been able to date that to 1707, which makes it the third oldest building in Philadelphia. So pretty significant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I think it's I think there's a portion of the Wick House in Germantown, which is older, and then I want to say it's Old Swedes maybe that comes in before us, but third is pretty good. We'll take it.
Yeah.
And so there's always been speculation about 210 that might even predate the homestead. So we won't really have answers on that until we get this structures report done. So we're working with the city and fundraising for 210 now.
Okay, folks, if you're really a history buff and you would like to support that effort, you should definitely contact Amy. And if you have any hidden information about 210, should folks contact you as well?
Right, deeds would be great. Anything.
If you're holding on to the deeds, the architectural drawings.
Yeah, like photographs from like the 18th century.
Yeah,
amazing.
Definitely. Send them Amy's way.
Please.
Excellent. Well, we'll want to check back with you once you get your report done. I'm sure we'll be really interested to learn what you find out. And
yeah, I mean, this building has a fascinating history. It served as an art school for a little bit.
Wow.
A woman's art school. Yeah. So we even have paintings from the guy who ran it. His name was Mr. Henderson. So we have paintings here that are from him. So it's I mean, all these buildings have such a fascinating history. And so just really getting their stories out is something that we've been working on a lot.
Yeah, I think, we're talking several hundred years here now. So there's a lot of people that have passed through these buildings, and it's so great to hear those stories.
Yeah.
Excellent.
If walls could talk.
Yeah, if only.
And then the last slide, or actually second to last slide, is of our homestead. I just like this image because it shows the Fairmount Park guards in front.
Right.
But we do have a grant to do capital improvements. Thank you, PHMC. Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission, for a grant to do capital improvements to our homestead. So we're really excited about that.
Congratulations. This is a fabulous building. I think you have a couple of exhibits in there. It's always one of my favorites. This is a black and white photo, but it has those beautiful yellow shutters, and I think that make it really pop.
Yeah, and so paint analysis was done, and that is what they believe to be the original trim color.
Oh, I'm relieved because I would hate to see it turn brown.
The stucco got removed at one point too. You can see here it's stucco.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been lots of work done on it, but it is certainly in need of some capital improvements. So we're looking forward to getting started on that really soon.
All right.
And then I didn't think any slideshow could be complete without a wonderful historic photo. So I just included this one. And this is the view of Rittenhouse Town that I was talking about earlier, where you can see it was all cleared, it was all pasture land. And you can get an idea just from this photo too, just how different it looked. The building that I'm sitting in now, you actually can't see that really massive structure kind of up on the hill is a barn that's long gone. All the barns are gone. So it's just a great photo.
And what are they building?
No, that's the quarry. That's the McKinley Quarry.
Oh.
The most of the curbing for Germantown came out of that quarry. And then we did a hike. So we started this fall hiking series. The one with Brad is this weekend, but we had done one prior, which was the roads of Rittenhouse Town. And you can actually walk up there. It's across Lincoln Drive, and hike up. There's trails up there, and you can see kind of the divot in the ground still from where the quarry was up there.
I know this divot well. I was hiking over there about a month ago.
It was a quarry. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. This is a great photo. Yeah, you can really see. I mean, there's no forest really in the back, and now we know today there is. And wow, look at that. Amazing.
Well, good.
Excellent. Well, I am so glad to have had you here today. I'm waiting to see if we have any questions. I don't see any yet. But if folks, if you're interested in any of these events, you should definitely check out Historic Rittenhouse Town's website. I think that all your events sound really fun. I think this research is going to be amazing to hear about the stories that are coming out from that. And it's so wonderful to see these buildings being stewarded. They're kind of, like you said, our last remaining evidence of that era. So check it out. I love old buildings too. And I know that our members do, and lots of visitors love to start their start or end their visits to the Wissahickon at Historic Rittenhouse Town. So,
well, and now you can get coffee before or after.
And you can get coffee either before or after.
Yeah, and I will say too, you know, for people that are listening, for in the FOW world, we do have every other Wednesday a stewardship day with David Bauer.
Yes,
he's done lots of projects here on site. So because you know from that photo you can see we are all second growth forest here. We have lots of invasives.
There's lots of work to do. Yes, so
always.
If you're looking to support both FOW and Historic Rittenhouse Town, that's a great way to get involved with
Exactly.
David Bauer, super steward of the Wissahickon and all of our organizations. So
yeah,
this has been loads of fun, Amy. I hope to check back again with you and hear about again what 210's report reveals.
Oh yeah, well I'm so excited to get started on that building.
Yeah, and keep us posted on all your events. They sound amazing.
Absolutely, thanks.
All right, have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.